I understand we have a Q and A. Did we go over time for that, or is it still happening? We do? Okay, we'll just do it. We're here. Did anybody have a question? Yes?
Hey, so now that you've dipped your toes into Satanism and had a full immersion here, I see your comments and I know how the atheist community reacts to Satanism a lot. Where do you think that disconnect is?
I'm sorry, there was a noise and applause. Where that is a...
What do you think the disconnect is? Why is the atheist community so,
There's a lot of disconnections within atheism.
Yeah.
Very often as to the philosophical definition of what atheism means. It's so incredibly tedious, but a lot of people are going by what they've been taught all their lives, and sometimes it's difficult to undo where you were misled. A friend of mine wrote a book called The God Virus, where it talks about how whatever religion you were indoctrinated in as a child, you're going to give special deference to that. And that when if you have a spiritual moment in your 20s or whatever, you're not going to adopt a new religion that you don't know. You're going to go back to the one you were taught as a child. So some people don't unlearn things very well. And so I think that's where a lot of the problem is. And then, of course, I have interviewed a Satanist, someone who identifies as a Satanist, who was also a devil worshiper, who believed in an actual Satan. And he and I had an interesting interview because I was at once praising him for what his satanic church, the Dogma of Angra Mainyu was the name of their organization. I was praising him for their First Amendment defense in Oklahoma City. And after we got through what that church had done positively, I said, okay, now, as I warned you, we're now going to talk about this faith issue and why you think there's an actual supernatural devil. My devil worshiper, rage quit. Not going to touch his faith. There are religious people who use different bents. And isn't it funny to think that there are some Satanists that can give Satanism a bad name? Some devil worshipers. So there is that. And my wife was concerned because, she says that there are bad Satanists too, which is another funny statement. Did you know that there are bad Satanists? So I think that's where all of that comes from. Any other questions? Yes?
So short kind of broad question, I guess you can take it where you want. What do you think about the concept of good and evil and its actual notion as a real concept? I don't think it's a real concept.
What I like is Scott Clifton, the soap opera star who on YouTube is known as Theoretical Bullshit, did the definitive description of that in his treatise on morality, where he describes what good and evil are, what being bad or being good, what being pro-social and anti-social are in that kind of a context. When you are causing unnecessary harm or suffering, that's what, and it's so unambiguous to figure that out. And I had to explain this to the Christian protesters at the ball last night when they're trying to come up with some, how they're trying to confuse me as to what evil is. And what unnecessary harm? What the hell's that mean? And I said, well, okay, if I stick a knife in your stomach and cut a slit across you, if I just do that because I met you on the street and I don't like you, that's unnecessary. But if I'm doing it to remove your appendix, then there's a need for it. So any other questions? Yes?
Do you think it's possible to convince devout Christians to...
No. Finish the question, please.
That's pretty much it. Do you think it's possible to unchristianize Christians?
For years now, for maybe 10 years now, I have been getting at least a few messages for whatever medium per week, up to one a day, from former believers thanking me for having walked them out of their delusion. That, more than anything else, keeps me going. Any others? Yes.
I've been watching you on YouTube for a very long time, and I really appreciate your work and what you're doing. And what I think I like most is that you branch out to as many different things as you can. I think one thing that I really appreciated was you went out with, I think it was Anthony Montabosco to do street epistemology.
And I failed.
I was curious if you could give me just a little little more insight into what you felt, thought, or did that day, because I only get the camera view, and I'm curious what went on in here.
Well, what went on in here was that I saw this guy. I was trying to follow the rules, trying to be respectful and inquiring and getting the people to think in their... The whole thing about street epistemology is you ask the questions to get them thinking. And how certain are they of this? If you ask somebody if you believe in God, everybody's just going to say yes. But if you say, are you convinced that an actual deity really exists? You've just asked the same question, but you don't have the pre-programmed response attached to it. And a whole lot of those people that would have said yes to you, do you believe in God, will now say they are not convinced that an actual deity really exists. Yeah. So with the street epistemology, you're supposed to be asking these questions to get these people to think in themselves and maybe reevaluate their position. That's the idea behind it. And what I've been doing is just bashing into what...
A little bit, yeah.
Well, there was this guy that I could see that he's like hovering around the periphery. He's like standing very conspicuously listening. Because I could see by his body language, he wants in. And he's not trying to be reasonable. He's looking for a fight. So was I.
I understood that.
So I gave him what he wanted.
There are different methods, and there is no right method. There are just interesting ways to use different tools.
I will say that too. Yes, there's a whole... I will often say that I'm not the best representative of atheism. There are lots of different aspects to take. There are lots of people that are better at what they do than I could do. But I think we need all of them. And we need the bulldogs kind of to clear the path for these better representatives. So I have a necessity. Thank you. Yes.
So I know you're still relatively new to the satanic community, but have you found any difference between the larger atheist community and the satanic community?
I'm seeing more overlap of late. I mean, people are really comfortable with saying "Hail Satan."
Hail Satan.
Yeah. I loved when I was, and I know he didn't mean it this way, but there was a thing where The Rock is doing an SLL thing where he's taking some weird drug that makes him do all these crazy things, and he's saying, and sometimes I wake up driving a stolen car. Hail Satan. That's so fucking funny. But I know a politician, a state senator, or running for state senator, I can't remember if he won or not, but I know a politician in California who is open Satanist. Do it. Just completely push the Overton window. What are they going to do? I mean, I've seen in the last week so many accusations, but the Satanists are about, sacrificing babies. And I'm no, sorry, you're confusing that with your religion. When you look in Exodus 34 and see what your fourth commandment is, to sacrifice your children. And then when you look at Ezekiel, I think it's 22, where it says that God admits that he gave these rules so that he would defile these people by making them sacrifice their own children. Well, you're reading that out of context. No, I'm reading the whole damn thing. There are different passages interweaving back that people actually did that. So no, they were into child sacrifice. Satanists are not. I described last night's event on Twitter this morning. I said that I went to a satanic ball, and that it was a lot like partying with those high-spirited Transylvanians from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, or like attending an Addams Family reunion, but with a more vampiric style of fashion and music. And that it was a charming evening. I use the word charming because, charmed. And I'm liking to see how people react to that you can put a positive spin on a satanic ball. Yes?
Almost as a follow-up to that question, there's a lot of people, maybe not as much recently, but especially when you're starting out, that thought of the Satanic Temple as like a satire group, or don't take us seriously, think we're a joke.
You mean Tucker Carlson? Well, you're just a made-up religion. Christianity's not just a made-up religion? Show me a religion that isn't just made up.
In a way, don't you think that kind of the self-recognized humor that we have about kind of just how silly every fucking thing is anyway, isn't that sort of how we're so effective, whereas atheists are kind of...
I'm proud to say that I am a friend of Ivan Stang, who became famous for starting the Church of the Subgenius, the Church of Bob. I've gone to atheist conventions dressed as a pirate, showing my respect to the Pastafarians, right? I admire those who use the logical arguments of the invisible pink unicorn, right? I've been involved in all of that. This one matches my natural clothing aesthetic. Yes.
Can you describe your clothing aesthetic in 3 words?
Black are there.
I don't think so. Yeah. Yes.
What do you think about the Satanic Temple's position on don't engage versus sounds like you want to engage?
I couldn't walk away from those Christian protesters last night. Did you see the get-up I was wearing? I knew that would be so choice to be on their cameras arguing with them. I do try to help them, and I told them at some point I want to try to leave the group because there's 2 or 3 of them up there that are just trying very hard not to understand anything. And as I come back, and you can tell when they're trying not to understand. So I'm trying to walk back to the ball, and a couple of them followed me to try to say, well, just one last thing. And then, so I now have 2 of them to talk to. I'm like, I can help you. What you believe is bullshit. There's literally, honestly, no truth to it. And if we take the time, I can show you that. Because you can't show me the truth of your belief, and I can show you many, many places where it's false. And I want to help you out of that. And so these people are going to contact me later, they say. So, hopeful. One last question, I think. Yeah, one last one. Nope, we got everybody? Get out. Thank you.